Senator Spotted Horse here. As you all know, my name's Pat Alden, and we got our legal counsel from the legislative branch is Dawn Gray. She represents the legislative branch. Also, then representing the executive branch, we got Dennis Berdonwalk. So we're represented on both ends there. So as y'all know, we called this meeting, or this public hearing, it's called for the ordinance, the Crow Tribal Housing Ordinance. That's the main subject that we wanted to talk about tonight. And once we get through this, questions and whatnot, we can start kind of entertaining some other questions concerning the district. But this is the main topic on the agenda tonight, is the ordinance, and just get some discussion going. As y'all know, the ones that just now came, handouts are up here if you guys didn't get them yet. But just to clarify, there's an old ordinance. There's I keep forgetting the year on that. Is that 78? Last amended in 78, or it is 64, but there's the older one there, and then there's the proposed ordinance here. So the question is, like she already asked that question earlier, on this ordinance is outdated. So the housing ordinance is outdated, and it's been, what, since 64. We haven't had a new ordinance. We've been running off this. So with that, Wildwood District went and got signatures to update this ordinance, and they went and got signatures, and they proposed their draft, and it's currently in committee right now. So that's what the proposed draft is right here, is to update the ordinance. And when I say that, I mean it's a draft, and that's why we're going to each district, and I think we're the last district here that are having our public hearing. But when I say draft, we're working on, we want to update, and it's not like it's written in stone and we have to vote on this right away. So that's why I want your input. I know a lot of people probably haven't even looked at the ordinance, and that's what we're kind of here to educate and take a look at. Maybe you're not going to have all the questions and the answers out of tonight's meeting, but at least maybe you can take it back home and start looking through it, and maybe give us suggestions from your side and what we need to do on this ordinance. Like I said, it's a draft and it's in committee, and I just kind of wanted to explain the legislative process on draft ordinances too. They stay in committee, and once they're in committee and they're worked on and we have a final draft, then it goes to the floor for sessions for final vote. So, but it has to come out of committee first, and that's where this one is currently. It's sitting in committee. So with that, just that's a little bit of a background on the housing ordinance. Paul, you got anything on just a little bit of background, and we'll kind of go down the line, just kind of introductions, and as we go down, and we'll start entertaining questions.
Oh, Pat. Again, that ordinance is it's been there for a while, and we need to update it, because what we're trying to do is I mean, you know, like maybe you be like, and then in Fort Smith, well, say next area, the guys there, we don't have no housing. Hey, what are we gonna do, my? We gonna go tie up the stuff. Hey, housing, so them grow go near back in. So to show buggy, they go to Carvan, go to that. He was a housing director. They go pretty go there. They didn't want these people to move out of St. X. So what they proposed at pretty go was, they get the school go. You feel good, they go on housing, and all they had to do at that time was tap into that system that's already there for their lagoon and stuff, because it goes right in the middle of that field. And they've been trying to talk to them, but they wouldn't, so they asked me to go over there, and I did and went and talked to Carl Van and those guys, and go to this. And the reason at that time was water, they go this. And what they said was, there's an artesian well right there at Perigo. It never happened. And what we're trying to do now is bring that back. Then some of the stuff we need to do is take care of all these ordinances. Update we need your input on these.
Don, then I'll give it to Dennis. Just kind of introductory comments.
Good evening, everybody. This is our last district meeting, and I just wanted to mention that in passing because we have received a lot of comments and discussion, questions, concerns at the other district meetings, and I do believe that we're going to have some suggestions and amendments to this draft document that you see, and so I would encourage everybody to get their input as much as possible tonight. It's not, we don't want to rush anybody, but it's going to take some time to get this completed. I suspect that we're going to have a number of committee meetings that are going to happen, looking at the language, getting all of the issues hashed out in committee. So while we're going through that process, we also have this on the website, and I believe these videos are also on the website, and so there's more information there. If you have any questions that come after this meeting, feel free to contact the branch, and we'll still be accepting comments. But tonight is your meeting. If you have just even in general questions that you're not able to pick up from the ordinance tonight, for example, one question would be like, what are, the options for having housing out in this area, as Patrick stated earlier, anything that your concerns are with housing. So again, like I said, this is kind of one of the first steps in the process of getting the information from the communities. The draft ordinance here, just going back a little bit there, that one was proposed in June of 2014, as Patrick stated also, and that was by petition of the voters out in the Wyola area. So this has been sitting on the floor of the legislature since then. We kind of want to get something passed soon, so that we can bring the housing ordinance into compliance and updated with the 2001 Constitution, amongst other concerns and ideas that we're looking to have put in that new ordinance. So with that, just as an introduction, if you have any questions, we'll be here to receive those, and again, if you want to even write your comments down, we'll accept those also.
Thank you. I'm Dennis Baird-Walk. I'm executive attorney for the executive branch of the Crow Tribe. I work with the Housing Authority, Transportation, a few other departments. I should start off by saying, I guess, that I initially opposed the draft replacement ordinance that you see before you. And the main reason for that is that it's a complete repeal and replacement of the existing housing ordinance, and where there's been, I don't believe, very much discussion on why it needs to be completely repealed and completely replaced. The executive branch is pro update. We understand that there is a lot of language, well, not even that much really, but a few items in the existing ordinance that needs to change to be consistent with our new constitution. An example of that would be there's references to reporting to the general council. Even though that occurs, that would be more appropriate if it were changed to the legislature, since every other department is required to report quarterly to the legislature. Another would be the way that the board is established. Under the existing ordinance, the board was intended to be a separate entity from the Crow Tribe. They were going to run in, what's the term I always forget, but the alternating...
Staggered.
Staggered. They're going to have staggered terms and be elected by the general council. After the new constitution, the board started to become appointed like other boards by the chairman of the executive branch, except that unlike the other boards, there was no confirmation process afterwards, which is what should also be built into here as an update. That said, we are currently for your consideration and comment is the draft that you see before you, the repeal and replacement one. So I'm going to keep my comments to a minimum insofar as critiquing that. I'll let you all make up your own minds as to, you know, what you think about it, and if you have questions, I'm available to answer those to the best of my ability. I will tell you, just for everyone's information, and I find that there's a lot of, most communities don't know exactly what goes on at the Housing Authority or how it's set up or how it's governed. But currently under the existing ordinance, there is a board of 6 members, one from each district, that oversees the administration of the Housing Authority. The day-to-day operation is run by an executive director. There are numerous staff members, including residents and occupancy counselors, and new home buyer counselors, and financial individuals. It is funded by an annual grant, the Indian Housing Block Grant, every year. The amount of the grant is based off of a formula that involves need. There's a need component, and then there's I think a population component, or population is part of need. Inventory. Inventory includes all mutual help units, units that people have purchased or are in the process of purchasing, and low rental units. The Housing Authority's been in a push for quite a while now, over 10 years I would say, to convey a lot of their mutual help units, and it continues today. They haven't all been conveyed, but they've been taken off the inventory because they're no longer eligible for maintenance funds, which means that anything that happens on these mutual help units, the insurance, things like that, isn't covered by the Indian Housing Block Grant. It has to come straight out of the non-program funds of the Housing Authority. I think that's about it. Does anybody have any questions on any of that? No, not yet.
Excuse me, before we get to the questions, just because I know once we get to questions, we're just going to start rolling here. But like I said, back to we don't expect everyone to be experts on this old ordinance tonight. So, but there's those general questions that are usually out there, especially our district, as Bighorn district, where they're probably the only ones that don't have housing units actually with all the districts currently. So that's there's some language currently in the new draft that Don Howard has said that puts away for each district, sets aside a certain area for each district. And maybe you guys have suggestions on where, if we were to fight for having units, and I mean, so that's why we're kind of here tonight. If you guys have some suggestions on areas and whatnot. And I was telling Senator Spothorse, or even it's just a suggestion out here that this we passed the resolution on this 62 acres of currently where this bunker house is out here up on, you guys want to talk about here, the old it was an irrigation reserve, so we passed the resolution to switch that back into tribal, then to the district. So that's currently in the process right now with BIA, but that resolution was passed in January of last year, October session. So that's 62 acres. If you've ever seen that, then I've always had that kind of suggestion that the trailer courts right on the other side, we currently have all the infrastructure already in place here. I mean, that's an idea. If there was to get units, that would be a good place, I thought, but that still has to go through the BIA process. And I know there's we talked about some St. X areas and over by the old school, and just kind of by Prettygo there, and just certain areas too over there. I know Paul had some suggestions too. So, but that's why we're here, actually, to hear your guys' input and have your ideas. And we talked about some of the things that are important in the ordinance is the composition of the board currently, how it's set up, and then how do we want it set up. I'll give you an example with the health board. That's on the appointment process on the health board, and there's a couple other boards out there that are the same way, set up like this. the chairman gives us names. Gaming commissions is one of them. The chairman gives us names, and the 3 district representatives confer. Then they're nominated. So that's kind of the direction we wanted to go. Just stay consistent with all those other ones and put the same language in this one currently. Because I believe what's the current process done on the current board selection of housings.
The current composition, I'll go ahead and let Dennis explain that, because there was the 68, the original, and then it was amended in 64, and it was amended in 78. So, and I think the 78 version amended that process.
Yeah, I'm not even too sure what the 64 process was, but I know under the current one, the existing ordinance, which is the 78 version, the board was intended to be elected by the general council and to serve staggered terms, so 4 years, 3 years, and 2 years. And then when there was a vacancy during the term, the chairman had the authority to appoint a replacement that would serve until the end of that, what would be the natural end of that term, and then it would come up for election again before the general council. The way that it currently works in reality is that the board is appointed by the chairman, and it's one representative from each of the 6 districts.
Why aren't there elections if we're still electing?
I can tell you what I think. I don't know what the actual specific answer is, but what I think is because in the 2001 Constitution, it grants the executive, the chairman specifically, the authority to appoint committees and commissions and things like that, and with confirmation by the legislature. I think that this halfway fell under that, and so the board members just started getting appointed by the chairman. But I don't know if that's the absolute truth, so.
So see, yeah, that's a good question. Currently, what are they running under, and why isn't it? So with this new draft, we wanted to put that language in there where it's consistent with all the other boards that are established currently. So we're straight across the board. I know we're having different commissions and board set up. So that same language, I think it's fair. The chairman sends a name and it's conferred with, it goes through both branches. So it goes through the district representatives, and then so we have qualifications in there and whatnot. So I think that's fair. On the other hand, the food is here. So if you guys want to help yourselves, it's we got stew and fry bread here. So if you guys are hungry, then we can just yeah. So whether you want to take a 5-minute break and grab some food, then we'll get going again. Okay, yeah. Hey, Sylvester, cheer,